Sam, my darling, how are you?
Hello, my lover, my darling, my sweet little chickadee. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. A question for you, Sam. Why you got to play that song so loud?
Because we want to. Because we want to.
You're so right for that. Who did you meet this weekend?
I met so many people this weekend.
You met so many people this weekend.
I met some lovely people on the tube. I met a gorgeous checkout employee at Co-op.
Yeah.
I met Billie Piper, star of Doctor Who. I met a woman in Sainsbury's that had a really cute dog. And I met you. How about you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, no, nothing memorable. No memorable meetings this weekend for me. It's so convoluted. No, we did meet Billie Piper this weekend. What a lovely treat.
It was.
Should we talk about that experience where we were?
Yeah, let's know. Yeah, you set us off. Set the scene.
Oh, well, I'll set the scene. Okay, scene set. Sam has just come over to my house because I've told him that my place is half an hour from where Comic-Con is. Turns out that's not true because
it was well over an hour.
Comic-Con. It was well over an hour away. I thought we were going to the XL. We weren't. We were going west. So I'd sent Sam an hour in one direction to me, and then we had to go an hour the other way. We arrive, we have a little coffee, we meet some other Whovians, which was very nice. Are we allowed to call them Whovians anymore? Is that like a designated term? Is that?
I've lent into like Doctor Who fans recently. It's not because I'm like outwardly avoiding Whovians, but
Whovians feels very dated now.
It weirdly does, but I feel like I'm very much in the era of Doctor Who, so I just say Doctor Who fans. But you call.
We met some of those, which was lovely. We saw at one point about 6 variations of Rose Tyler, sort of all in front of me at once, which was a very overwhelming sight, but really funny.
Alistair turns to me and he's like, "It's the multiverse of Rose."
It's Billie Piper's multiverse of madness.
Everything, everywhere, Billie at once.
And then Billie Piper was doing a signing. And we weren't on that. Ethan, friend of the pod, met Billie Piper, and she was apparently lovely. And we saw her from a distance. We were sort of checking
oh my
her
god, we
out
literally were
at a vantage point.
Yeah, we were stood at a distance, and we were like,
"Oh, she looks great." And we saw from a distance that she had her slay red hair all together. And we were like, "Oh, she looks so good. She looks so good." And then later, Sylvester actually nearly bumped into him, very literally. He's tiny.
Yeah.
Like, he's tiny. And he was being escorted from A to B, I think, to do his own signing. And he was kind of like navigating his way through these crowds of fans, and his person was kind of walking a bit ahead of him, so it wasn't
really
totally with him. And he was kind of scooting around and trying to just not bump into people. He was going, "Oh!" He looked me directly in the eyes and just went, "Oh!" And that was my interaction with Sylvester McCoy.
It was so funny. I was just kind of I missed him, and you were just like, "Oh my god, that's Sylvester McCoy!" And I turned around, and I was like, "Oh my god, it is!" And I was like looking in the other direction. I was like a man on a mission looking for Doctor Who figures, and I just heard in the distance like a. And then I was like, "Oh, it's Sylvester McCoy from a slight distance."
That's how he navigated Comic-Con. And then we were signed on to get a picture with Billie Piper because I thought it was a very reasonable price, and I just couldn't resist the opportunity. So we booked onto that. We didn't have any special passes or anything.
No.
So we joined the queue, and by the time that we met her, I think we were probably like picture number 520.
Something like that, yeah.
And I mean, Billie, she was so lovely. She was really nice. But by the point we got in the room, it was like they were going triple speed.
Yeah.
We got in and they're like, "Come on, keep going.
Well, you and me, we were spending the whole time talking about like, "Oh, what are we going to say to her? Meet her? Like, I'm going to tell her how much I love this. I'm going to tell her how I'm excited I'm for upcoming work, like how she's changed my life." And then as soon as we got into the room and we saw the pace, we were like, "We're going to get to say hi. Like that's what we're going to get to say."
You say hi. And you move on. I, in fact, set myself a challenge to actually make her say anything except hi.
Well, yeah, because I went before you and I was like, I'm going to say something other than hi bye as well. And I said to her, I was like, "Hi, so nice to meet you." She was like, "So nice to meet you." We took the picture and then I went and I said, "Oh, I hope you're having a lovely day." And she was like, "I am."
Oh, yes, you did.
And I could, like, the person next to her, like, was ushering me and they were like, "Right, come on." And I was like, "Ugh."
I was like, "Right, my turn." So I was like, "Right, my strategy is going to be camp up a bit." And I just went, "Hi." And she was like, "Oh, I love this." And she was referring to my shooty get up, which many have told me since and during was
Jamie McCrinnan.
Inaccurate. I know. Or they were like, "Yeah," or "Oh, you're Jamie." No. She's like, "Oh, I love this." Then I put an arm around her. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm touching Billie Piper." And then, did the pic. And I thought, I know I pulled a weird face for that, but there we are. And I said, "Oh, you're the new Doctor." And then I was like, "Yeah." yes. I said, oh, it's such a pleasure to meet you. And she said, ah. And then we were off.
Yeah.
We were done. That was it. Experience over.
We got our pictures. The pictures, guys, both of us were like, oh my God, she looks amazing. And we look awful, which isn't the case. Both of us reassured each other that we looked great. But
yeah, we both got our individual pictures and we sort of looked at them and then looked at each other and both just sort of went, fat. And it was really bad. But we were like, no, you look beautiful, but baby, no. I think it was an unflattering camera lens.
I know.
I will say, but people have told us we look. You do look lovely.
You look
it's
absolutely
a lovely
gorgeous.
picture.
Can I tell the listeners what I purchased at Comic-Con?
Wait, what did you purchase? Oh yes, don't tell them. Tell them.
So I was very overwhelmed in a good way because anyone who listening to the pod knows that I adore Doctor Who action figures, and I recently made a list of every single character options released in story order, going from the first Doctor through till 15, and I used to have a huge collection as a kid that I completely lost in the cull of like 2015 or whatever it was. And I'm like slowly rebuilding my collection back. And I was like, oh my God, there are so many like exclusive and like rare and hard to find figures here. And they were, not unrightly so or unjustly so, they were very, very expensive. Like some of these figures were like £200+. There were some sets that were like edging £300 because they're just really rare and hard to come by. And we were there with Harry, a guy that I'd met before at other Doctor events. We were with him quite a lot of the day, and he was very into Doctor Who figures too. So he was like, oh yeah, no, that's really rare, and this is expensive because of that, and this because of this. And I was just kind of there, like very politely, like nodding and like and entertaining
just
us.
Nodding and dissociating for most of the day. Sorry to anyone who came across me. I was just trying to remain not overwhelmed by the experience. At any given point, I was just looking for my next coffee.
Literally.
And just sort of drifting from A to B.
And I was looking at all these stores of Doctor Who figures, and I was like, at one point, I was like amping myself up to buy a figure for like 80 quid, because I was like, I really want this, it's good value, whatever. I stayed restrained, I didn't do that. And in the end, and this is hilarious for anyone who knows anything about Doctor Who figures, in this world, this sea of really rare and exclusive Doctor Who figures, I purchased Brannigan the cat and the Space Pig from Aliens of London, neither of which are rare, both of which were quite cheap.
You just said bargain!
Brannigan was £5 and the Space Pig was £3. So I was like,
there was a point where like you went over to what at the time you thought was like the only character option store, and you picked up like some Daleks, and you were like, right, 50 quid. Yeah, okay. And there was ways you were like already starting to rationalize that, and you're like, yeah, okay. So you were like, right, so maybe if I get this one, you get that one, and then we take one of each, then in a way we've kind of, and it was like, right.
But you were really in agreement at the time. You were like, yeah, no, I'm seeing it. And then it took us both to like,
this makes sense. And then
step away for a second to be like,
Well, even trying to step away, we're like, well, look, if we come back, they'll be gone. And then we came back 3 hours later, they were still there. Yeah. It was okay.
It was fine. And I definitely would like them all at some point in my life, but I couldn't bring myself to spend all that money at the time. But I had a very, very fun day. It was fun seeing lots of you lovely listeners there, bumping into some people from Twitter. It was just such a lovely day. It was really wholesome vibes. And then I had to go to a friend's birthday party dinner that evening to a very bougie restaurant where there was a theme of, dinner party ready. And I was dressed as the 15th Doctor, and I sat like that the whole evening.
We dressed as the 15th Doctor.
Are you meaning to tell me?
Oh, you were the
I
top.
was stood there the whole ass day, dressed as 15.
I was thinking, I saw so many shooties in leather coats that I was trying to think what you meant by that. I was like, what was he wearing? That was, of course, you were wearing the zippy top. It was Sam, it was lovely. And the running gag we had all day as well was that because your zippy top could unzip all the way.
Yeah.
And at some points in the day, it just kind of
slid
by
down.
Itself started kind of creeping down. We had to do some occasional zip checks before you went in to meet Billie, just in case you gave her a jump scare.
I know, it's right. I was going to turn around the corner and be like, Billie, I love you.
Just a hiya, nipples out.
Literally. We did manage to avoid it.
I love you, Billie.
I love you, Billie. Here's my baps. No, we avoided the nip slips.
We did.
And it definitely sort of inspired me. I knew that we were seeing her, and so we were thinking about what episodes to do coming up, and part of me was like, I really want to do a Rose episode. Like, I'm really in a Rose mood now. I really want to do a Rose episode for Wholala. And there's been a few times where we've done episodes where I remember we did Family of Blood, and Alice was like, I just really want to do this one because I love it. Like, I really want to do this because I like it. And I think there's not really been many where I've been like, I just want to do this because I love it. And then we were thinking about this week, and I was like, I bloody love the Cybermen episodes in series 2. I was like, I love that. And I was like, I said to Alice, I was like, can we do the Cybermen 2-parter for Wholala?
Yeah.
And you were like, absolutely.
Have we done Cybermen yet? Because we've done like a ton of Dalek episodes.
Done loads
of
Dalek.
Any Cybermen before?
I don't think we have done any Cybermen episode. We've done loads. A big thing is when we were doing our Asylum of the Daleks episode, we were talking about how it probably would have worked better as a Cyberman episode, but we've not done a Cyberman episode.
Well, Here we are.
Here we are.
Long awaited.
Well, long awaited.
At long last. I watched the two-parter and I really liked it. It's one that it's, again, really hard to see with fresh eyes. We had this real problem when we went back to watch series 1, which was like, is this objectively good or is it like nostalgia? Like, it's very hard to separate it from how it has always been because we've been familiar with these stories for like nearly 2 decades now. And it's quite hard to see it fresh. And I found that hard again.
Yeah, no, me too. Part of me was even debating rewatching these because I've seen them so many times. I was like, I can definitely, and I stand by this. I could have done these episodes because we're doing a 2-part to Wholala. This week we'll be looking at the episode Rise of the Cybermen, and next week we'll be looking at it's part 2, Age of Steel. And I definitely for a moment was like, oh, I could definitely do this off of memory, and I stand by it. I could have, but rewatching it and properly analysing, I really love doing Wholala because it means that like you properly are like watching the episodes, because I'll have Doctor in the background on while I'm doing a million things, but I'm properly watching it and dissecting it and thinking about it. And it really, especially with these episodes, it made me not realize because I love them anyway, it's restated for me how good they are. And I often hear some critiques of these and I hear people not loving them, and I was struggling to find some lows, certainly in this episode.
I've got a handful, but they're quite funny ones.
Oh, I love funny ones.
Or they're like annoying, finicky ones, the sort of things that I don't like, that no one else agrees with. Gotta be difficult.
You love to be difficult. Well, today we are talking about Rise of the Cybermen. Now, Rise of the Cybermen originally aired on the 13th of May 2006 to an overall viewership of 8.6 million and currently an IMDb score of 7.7 out of 10.
Have you ever thought about the fact that Cybermen don't have a nose?
What's weird is they kind of have the bridge of a nose. Like, they have the marks near the side of the eye, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes straight to the mouth.
They're actually quite snatched. Like, they are. They're, like, specifically in this era, like, this is peak, what is it, like, buccal fat removal.
Buccal fat
like,
removal.
Jawbone.
They've got huge, like, shoulder blades. Yeah, they're really, they're kind of like, I didn't like the round-faced Cybermen of 2013, but what does that say about me?
I didn't like them either, I agree.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. So, this week's story, in case you haven't seen this one or haven't seen it in a long time, as always, we always recommend go back and watch the episode. It is on iPlayer. It's basically free. Pay your TV license unless you are a student. Are you exempt?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not a student, so I'm not sure. Well, look, for anyone who hasn't seen the episode in a while, here is a recap of the story.
After some in-flight banter, the Doctor, Rose and Mickey crash land in London in a parallel universe. It should be impossible, but the gang fell through a crack in time. Everything here is almost the same, except there are metal zeppelins in the sky and Rose's dad is still alive. The crash has basically killed off the TARDIS and only one tiny power cell has survived. The Doctor energizes the cell with some of his own life force, but it needs 24 hours to fully recharge and power a trip back home. Before long, Rose and Mickey are wandering off.
I recently had my battery go flat in my car and they had to like electric shock it back to life. And I've just realised that's what this is like.
Is that what it made you think of? Did you just
that's
imagine
what it made me
breathing
think of.
on it? Just you to the mechanic, cost me 10 years of my life.
Worth every second. Mickey heads off on his own to try and find his grandmother, who died in his universe years earlier after falling down the stairs. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Rose discover that most of the population of London wear earpods that download information from Cybermen Industries directly into the wearer's brain. We learn that Cybermen owns Pete Tyler's health drink company, Vortex, and possibly the government.
The head of Cybermen Industries, John Lumick, is dying. He's managed to invent an upgrade for humanity by welding their brains into metal suits. He's been failing to get approval for his plans, but unknown to anyone but his Cockney assistant, Lumick has already been abducting homeless people and turning them into Cybermen.
Cybermen is being investigated by a group called the Preachers, who have been receiving secret information about Lumick's technology from Gemini. Jake Simmons, a hot blonde and one of the Preachers, has witnessed people being lured into lorries to be converted. Jake finds Mickey at his grandmother's house, confusing him with his parallel counterpart, Ricky.
Jake takes Mickey to the Preacher's base, where Ricky and Mickey come face to face. Everyone's freaked out, because they're basically exactly the same, but quickly get over it when Mickey decides to join the Preachers. They follow a Cybermen lorry to Pete's mansion, where he's hosting a 39th birthday for his wife, posh Jackie Tyler.
In this world, however, Rose is a honking dog. Rose and the Doctor are also at the party to investigate disguised as caterers. The Cybermen, however, break into the mansion and surround the guests with the intention of upgrading them all into Cybermen. However, the Cybermen kill the President and other guests for resisting. The Doctor, Rose and Pete escape the house, meeting with Mickey and the preachers outside, and ultimately getting surrounded. Despite surrendering, the Cybermen tell them that they will receive maximum deletion.
Not maximum deletion.
Delete. Now, before we dive into our thoughts, we've got a lot of thoughts about this episode. We did reach out to you on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, to let us know what you thought, and here's what some of you had to say.
Laura said, it's one of those episodes I kind of forget about until I watch it and then remember they're pretty good. Like that it gave an opportunity to explore Pete coming back. Roger Lloyd Pack is a very good villain. Also gets an award for the darkest use of the song The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Oh my god, it really does. Halloumi Girl said, some of my favourite episodes from Series 2. I love the campiness of Lumic, 60s Bond villain vibes. This is personally my favourite Cyberman design and origin story. I love the commentary it provides on technology and upgrades, even if it's a bit outdated now. Plus, cunty Jackie looks and personality. Ugh, love her.
Josh Snare says, first Doctor Who episodes I ever saw. I watched Torchwood first and wanted to see what the Cybermen were all about. Now let's hope that they didn't see the Cyber Women first.
I'm pretty sure.
Because that's unfortunate.
I'm pretty sure they saw the Cyber Woman before they saw the Cybermen.
They said, I thought it was shit. Had no idea why people like this show.
You know what? Valid.
Very fair, very fair.
And finally, David Paku, another friend of the pod, said, justice for Rose the dog, the OG crunchy on-screen dog.
You know what? You're all friends of the pod. If you're listening, that's what you are. I think friends of the pod is what we call Wholala listeners now. Friends of the pod.
Yeah, no, you are. You're all friends of the pod.
So one thing that I thought I was watching in preparation for this, as any rational man would do, Doctor Who Confidential in the gym. So I was having a little jog. It turns out actually the music selection in Doctor Who Confidential is so good that you can actually run to Doctor Who Confidential quite all right.
Oh my god,
there's a song tying in with a clip every few minutes, and it's good for a little jog. They have lots of little gems in that episode, and I was thinking, just kind of watching some of the outfits of like the crew and the behind the scenes, like thinking about what time this is. What year is this? 2007, 2006?
This was filmed in 2005, aired in 2006.
Right. And I was thinking about how old we were then. And I was just imagining for some reason if they vox popped you and me at that age, if we ever got to like see a behind the scenes of like, oh, Sam and Alasdair, what do you think of these new monsters? I just for some reason have this really funny vision of the two of us just going like, oh, that's wicked.
I think they're really, really
I was just
good.
imagining for some reason, like, it's just funny that at some point while all this is being filmed, little us are out in the world somewhere just lapping up series 1. And
yeah.
I just don't know why I found that thought very funny.
I can just imagine.
I just thought we'd have been mesmerised by all this.
We were drinking a Capri Sun and watching Boomerang.
Exactly. Let's start off with what I would say is a high. I enjoyed Lumic as a villain. I thought he was quite legitimately unhinged, I think is a way that I could describe him, and several of Umphies. But it was lovely to see Vicar of Dibley and OnlyFans? Not OnlyFans star. Only Fools and Horses star. No. Oh, no. Roger.
That is being bloopered. That is a blooper.
Vicar of Dibley and Only Fools and Horses star, Roger Lloyd Pack. I previously accidentally said OnlyFans star. That's not where he got famous. He genuinely seems bananas. I love it.
Yeah.
And one line that made me laugh in this as well is in the cold open, right before we go to the meow sting, we get set sail for Great Britain. Because at that point we have no context that they're not already in Great Britain. We've had two British people have a conversation and they go, set sail for Great Britain. And you're like, oh, were you not there?
You're like, oh,
where are you?
Okay. I really like John Lumic. I actually had him in my mixed neutral section for this episode. A friend of mine pointed out to me recently, and I can't unsee this now, that I think Lumic is a bit like Davros at home. It's like, oh, we don't need to go get Davros out, we've got Davros at home. In the regard to, it's like a crazy scientist who's trying to create this new species, which he believes is the next step of evolution for who they are now. And then he becomes damaged in some way and ends up having to partly become like said species. And they designate him as like a leader. and he's also got the same trope of like, oh, you're evil, so you're in a wheelchair. And I was a bit like, oh,
Right.
that kind of made me like, because I love his performance. He's a great actor, and I really think that Roger Lloyd Pack has a great performance. But yeah, I was a bit like, oh, it's a bit like Davros-y.
It is unfortunate that it is another Doctor Who universe evil person in a wheelchair looking for a way to kind of escape their body, which is sort of the Davros story as well, but done again. Davros obviously goes further than that, and even Lumix kind of goes a bit beyond that. But it does kind of suggest that Lumix's ultimate motivation is his illness.
Yeah.
So maybe not the most positive portrayal there. I don't know. I guess I liked that he seemed.
But I love his performance.
He seemed, quite. He seems just so mad that I really enjoyed it. Like, well, how will you do that? From beyond the grave. And it was just so like, I thought it was delivered very well. I think he just seemed genuinely quite sick.
Yeah.
And I also believed that he was a mad genius who invented some kind of very profitable metal. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I buy it.
No, I believe that.
You know?
What I like about him as a character is that he kind of is this like invisible mafia that like he works behind the scenes doing his own projects, but he owns like everything. Like he owns Vitex. He has like stakes in the government. Like he's having secret meetings with the president. Like I like that he's like a madman from behind the scenes until he does like break out this invention and start, trying to convert everyone.
Yes, very that.
I will say, just in regards to the Cybermen, for me, and I'd be interested to hear your opinion on this, for me, this is still the best Cyberman story we've had in New Who. And a lot of people argue me about this because of the Dr. Falls two-parter with the Masters and the Cybermen. It's widely believed that that's the best two-parter, but for me, I just think that of New Who, this is the purest Cyberman story. This is the most gripping, it's the most emotional, and also I think that a big thing that makes this story so great in both of its parts, more so in the next part, so I'll talk about it more then, it really reminds you that this is a story about humans that have been pillaged and ripped apart outside of their consent and turned into these monsters. And I think that you need that human connection to stop you just being like, oh, they're robots. That's
kind of it. I think in other stories where I've seen the Cybermen, I think they're robots.
Yeah.
A lot of it is about the human struggle to prevent becoming that, which is really frightening. And in The Confidential, they're like, oh, it's kind of like a vampire story because they don't want to take over the world. They just want to become the world. They want you to become like them. It's kind of like zombies. And they're just kind of hardwired to almost like believe that they're relieving you of your suffering as well. They're like, we can help with the emotions. Oh, it's going Alan Rickman again.
Oh my god.
But not again. But I agree with you on that point. I think I don't know, Cyberman stories are rarely my favorite, which is strange because I actually think they're fantastic villains and they really freak me out. I find them far scarier than Daleks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I guess this story as well, it's an origin story, I guess, in a way, isn't it, for the Cybermen?
Yeah.
Which is fun. Is it? I'm just thinking, is it like kind of an opposite to Genesis of the Daleks? I guess it is in the sense that it feels like you're meeting them at a stage. I guess it feels similar in that you're meeting them at a stage where it's still sort of almost possible to stop their creation. And there are those stakes in that, like, this is the point where it's like, if we stop them now, we stop this happening. And maybe later Cybermen stories, like the ones we get with the 13th Doctor, it's almost like the Cybermen are already at a stage that they're just everywhere and they've kind of wrecked everything and they're not really stoppable now. Remember, like, the 13th Doctor in later stories, she tries to, like, stop them with gold and she tries to stop them with signals, and none of it works anymore. It's like, oh, we're way beyond that.
Yeah, I don't like, and I think it more with Nightmare in Silver, the Matt Smith episode. I don't like when Cybermen have no weakness. And it's not to say that, like, gold, for example, has to destroy them because that's what happened in Classic Who, but, like, when they're upgraded to the point where, like, oh, we can I quite like that they could only upgrade humans because they were made by humans and they're only really built to be able to take in humans. So, like, the Doctor's a bit useless to them. Whereas when they're able to, like, do anything, it does kind of take away a bit of the dread. I also find with Cybermen, and again, I think this leans more towards Age of Steel, but I like when we're aware that it's like bits of people in them. Like they take out the brain, they have this synthetic flesh. They have this. I don't like it again in the 13th Doctor's era when the suits open and they're like, quick, get in, we can hide in a Cyberman suit, because it's not meant to be like a hollow suit. It's meant to be like, no, they like, you couldn't fit a human in there. Like they've ripped bits of you out and put you in there, and I just think that's so horrific. And there's something specifically about these Cybermen. You mentioned a bit earlier of like how they have like the real like chiseled design. I think the design is awesome, but like they feel heavy. I believe like when he says skin of metal and a body that never age, I really believe it. And like the stomp, they're like so good.
Well, that's funny. That's something that they say a bit in The Confidential, is that Russell said the intention with the art design was that it would feel like steel, not silver, very specifically. And they were like, they wanted it to feel kind of like heavy and metallic. And that was sort of the direction given, was it should feel really like metal. And it feels like they went the other way with that later, and then they gave it that very slick silver, and they like they declunkified the Cybermen and made them less like
cumbersome. It's like less cumbersome.
And then they become like more nimble, and
they can run. Do you remember they can run
tighter
in 11th era? No, I like that they have to like plonk along. Like I like that they feel heavy and like you couldn't push one of them over, but also like, you know, it's a human brain trying to like move this suit, like it's clunking around. It's not quite
it makes it feel more like that's one of the really freaky lines that I didn't like, well no, that I liked, but it unsettled me, was very early on in the episode. It's like, is it awake? And he's like, oh, it might be in shock, like the brain has been welded to the exoskeleton. So many parts of that I don't like. It might be in shock implies a very painful process, like in shock from an injury. I'm like, disgusting. And welding a brain, like the whole concept of welding a brain to anything, like an organic brain being welded to something.
I know.
Such a horrible idea, like that descriptor in itself. Couldn't sound more painful. But I think that is part of it, right? Like even in the slow movement, it's that zombification of a human brain, right? As well. Like it's not a form we're meant to be in. So it's unnatural. So it can't move that quick.
No, exactly.
Because it's kind of like weird.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you on that. At a certain point, it just feels like an AI robot.
Yeah.
And not like
a human in a suit.
In a horrible suit.
It's really nasty. I found watching, and I'm probably going to sound ridiculous, watching these episodes and properly like watching it and paying attention to it, it made me really, like, it gave me chills at points. So that was one of the most, like, in different ways. So like that was one of them, because like when it was saying about, you know, the human body and physically what has happened to it to make it become this, but also when the Doctor realizes what's going on, like you were saying earlier about how this is kind of like a soft reboot. I like how, and again, it happens more in the next episode too, they don't ignore that the Cybermen happened. This is a soft reboot, and this is a reintroduction to them, and it is bringing them in a new way, unlike the Daleks, for example, where they just sort of carried them in from New Who. This is a rebirth of the Cybermen. The realization the Doctor has when he's watching the video and it's about Cybus Industries, and he goes, Cybus, and he presses his face against the window, and Rose's like, what is it? What's going on? He goes, it's happening again. I've seen them before.
Yeah.
And she goes, what are they? And he goes, Cybermen. And like, the realization that he's the only one there that knows what's happening. All these people see these robots coming in, and he knows that they are chopped up people inside them. And he has to kind of explain to Rose what they are. She's like, what are they, robots? He's like, no, they're not. They were like you. And like, it's so horrible in a good way.
It's horrible. We've used this term a billion times since, I think, Georgia Cook, when we interviewed her on the pod, kind of introduced us to the term, but body horror. Yeah. Pure body horror.
It was.
And ever since she said that, we've been like, body horror. Like, yes, this is body horror, which they do, I guess, a lot in Doctor Who, but we didn't like have a word for it. But this is maybe the most appropriate time to say it. The super unsettling bit in this is, as was mentioned in one of the tweets there, the use of The Lion Sleeps Tonight playing over the kind of, I guess, execution in a way, or mutilation of these homeless people being kind of led into this horrible industrial part of Battersea Power Station of all places to be chopped up and put inside a suit. And we see like the equipment that's chopping them up as well. That visual was so burned into my 10-year-old head. of like that.
The machine.
Rotating piece of machinery. Yeah, and it's got little like scissors. It's got a little syringe
and you
on
hear
it.
it like
It's
soaring and stuff. You just hear the screaming.
The soaring and the screaming. It's so horrible. And then there's that... Yeah, the little Cockney assistant as well, who's like, oh, horrible, turn out, track 7, whatever he says. And, but it's scary. It's scary. Like, I don't know how do we deal with this? It definitely freaked me out back then. This is a scary series.
This is a scary series. People forget that. And, like, another thing, because they introduce new things with the Cybermen here, the concept of deleting, like, that when they kill people, they're deleting them, like a file. I can't remember. I feel like in Classic Who, some of the Cybermen could electric shock people. I think that existed, but like the concept of them like deleting people, and it gets really gaggy at the end when the Cybermen are explaining, like, we're going to convert you, and the president says, well, what happens if I refuse? And the doctor's warning him, like, I'm telling you don't, and the Cyberman just goes, then you are not compatible. And what happens then? You will be deleted, and just kills him on the spot. Like, there's something about them wanting humans and needing humans, but being so willing to just kill them. Like, it's...
All right.
Yeah.
You're not going to play along?
All right, then.
Let me move on to a lighter point.
Oh, yes.
Love the TARDIS chat.
I
thought I was going to get frazzled.
They did call someone a munchkin, which I was like, I'm not sure we can say that now, but who knows?
I liked and I'm not laughing at the use of bad words.
Yeah.
I enjoyed their little sort of banter in the TARDIS, and I think they're intentionally trying to make Mickey feel a bit left out as well. It's very like, you had to be there. And it's like, there's no point recounting these stories at all if not to just be showing off to Mickey at this point, and poor Mickey's pressing the button. But I liked this little dynamic, these little like oddly human moments they've got where it's like Rose and a new boyfriend kind of showing off a bit.
Yeah.
And it's a bit mean, but it's also quite funny.
I know. I do feel for Mickey, because I also don't know that they are deliberately leaving out. Like, the doctor just forgets about him when he's got the button. I have a note here, and I'm going to read this verbatim. My note says, my God, Mickey is such a wet blanket at the start of this episode. Rose is literally laughing at you. How embarrassing.
You were not sympathetic.
It's when he realizes he's been pushed the button. The doctor's like, oh, you could have stopped when, you could have stopped, like,
you forgot about me.
Ago. And Rose just sits there and like laughs at him. And I'm like, that's really mean. But I feel like that also, I wrote another note verbatim. I wrote Rose, she's so flawed, but God, I love her. Because like, she doesn't treat Mickey right.
She is flawed.
She's a kid. She's 19.
She doesn't, but it's for the story as well. It's not something that's not explored. There's, a part where, Rose is talking about Mickey's grandma, and the doctor's like, oh, I didn't know that. And she's like, well, why would you know that? You've never asked that. And she's like, I guess we take Mickey for granted. And I thought that was nice as well.
Yeah.
Like, it does ultimately lead to this point where she's forced to let Mickey go at the very end, jumping ahead to the next story. But it wraps up quite nicely, I think, when she realizes that she has made a decision already.
No, exactly. A big thing that I thought about with this TARDIS team, the three of them, and I like when the Doctor has one companion, but visiting TARDIS teams like the Dr. Martha Jack or the Dr. Amy Rory, or so I do like Dr. Rose Mickey, but I feel like at different times in different ways they're all like acting like children at times, and quite often Mickey is the one that's having to act like a grown-up. So like,
yeah.
And there's the bit like you said about when Rose is like, well, I guess we took him for granted. There's a moment where Rose has decided she's going to go see her parallel dad, and Mickey's saying he's going to go see his parallel gran, and the doctor's like shouting at them both, and he's like, right, go and stay here. Both of you, come back here. And Mickey doesn't even... Mickey knows what's going to happen. He says to the doctor, like, oh, I've got stuff to see as well. And the doctor's like what? And the doctor like says to him, like, what on earth could you have to see here, after giving him a whole speech about how it's a world of temptation for Rose. And Mickey goes, well, you don't know anything about me, do you? It's always Rose, and I'm just a spare part. Go on then, there's no choice. You can only chase after one of us, and it's never going to be me, is it? And I really do like Mickey's arc in both these episodes, where he realizes that by staying with the Doctor and Rose, he is just becoming a spare part. He's a part of the furniture, and he is so much more than that.
Mickey gets a great arc in this series, I think, as well, like starting with school reunion and being the tin dog, through to this again, and then through to eventually coming back as the hero in the two-parter. Gets a really satisfying arc, I think, for him.
Yeah.
And he's no longer kind of like Mickey the idiot or Mickey the spare part, but Mickey the hero in his own right, and very much carves out his own path.
Yeah. No, I really like that. And I think a lot of it does come from these 2 episodes for sure. So a big part of this story, just talking about the TARDIS team, is that Rose comes to this parallel world and realizes that her dad is still alive in this universe. And coming right off the back of Father's Day, like, is the last time we saw Pete Tyler. I think I watched this when I was younger and I was like, no, that's not your dad. Like, don't be silly, Rose. You've got to go back to your mum. Blah, 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 blah. But when you're presented as like a young adult with your dad who you thought you'd lost forever, he exists here and he's real and you could see him if you wanted to. Like, of course she would go. Like, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
And it's really sweet, like, when she's like, I've just got to go see him. I want to go see him. And the doctor's like warning her, like, you can't, you shouldn't, you mustn't. She's like, I've got to. Like, and I really feel that too. One thing that I didn't really think about before I started watching this is I've just listened to the Dimension Canon series on Big Finish. And for anyone who hasn't listened to that, it's basically set in the time in between Doomsday and when Rose comes back in the Stolen Earth and Turn Left. And you're following Rose and parallel Pete and Jackie. And there's this whole sort of subplot about how she's like, well, you're not really my real dad. Like, you know, you're not really my real dad. And they visit all these parallel worlds and they kind of see all these people and they're really like fleeting. And this story, watching this after listening to that, I'm like, oh, like this is a real Pete. Like, this Pete exists and he has a house and he has a wife and all these people live here and they're all real and they feel so much less disposable, I guess. And that series builds upon their relationship. And by the end of the Big Finish, Rose is like, no, you are my dad. Like, you are my dad and I am your daughter. And another thing that it builds upon, which I really like in this episode, is Mickey's relationship with his family. So Mickey's mum features in one of the Big Finish episodes when she gets a flippant mention here. But it wasn't until watching this episode that I realised that both Mickey's parents walked out on him. Like, Mickey's mum, she was like, oh, his mum couldn't cope, so she left. And Mickey says his dad went to Spain and never came back. And I'm like, what happened in Mickey's childhood that both of your parents just, like, it's a very active choice by Russell that, like, neither of them died. They both walked out. Like, I thought that was so odd.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well, isn't it? Like, in Father's Day, they talk about Mickey as a character that were like, what does Jackie say about him? Like, it's either like cling to the nearest something.
Cling to the nearest blonde or something.
It might be like cling to the nearest blonde or cling to the nearest thing that moves or something like that.
Yeah.
But they definitely imply, Jackie definitely implies in Father's Day that he's very clingy and I think feels that insecurity.
Yeah.
Which is really sad and kind of, I guess, explains part of his attachment to Rose as well, as almost like as a bit of a comfort blanket.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is why you need these episodes to show him that, like, he is his own character. And I really agree with you when you were saying that he has a proper arc in this whole series, not just these episodes.
Yeah. And also, everyone say thank you, Murray Gold, for the Father's Day music. Thank you, Murray.
Well, thank you, Murray, for the Cyberman music as well. I have that as a note on here. The Cyberman music, the Cyberman theme is just, delicious. Delicious.
Thank you, Murray. Thank you for the Cyberman music as well,
Thank you,
Murray.
Murray.
We really appreciate it. Now, can we move to a certain birthday party?
Yeah, but how old is this person turning?
38, 39? Could be older than that.
Yeah, near around.
Some of the best ever lines in this whole series go to Jackie in this one episode. I've got hand sculpted arrangements by Veronica Reykjavik and your secretary stopped off at garage. I don't think so.
When she's like, 40, I'm 40. And then he goes, yeah, I know. And she's like, well, I don't want the whole world knowing, do I? And he goes, you're having a party tonight. I just think it's so... My 39th.
Diamond studded picks up signals from Venezuela. Why do you want signals from Venezuela? Well, I don't know, but now I can find out.
My Wikipedia says I was born on the same day as Cuba Gooding Jr. Thank you very much. It's so good.
Rose! Oh, she needs a good bath for tonight. She's going to be honking.
Rose! Oh my God. Rose's, like human Rose's reaction to dog Rose when she gets the house. And then the doctor's reaction to Rose's reaction. Oh my God, it's so funny.
Peak humour. Perfection.
Yeah.
Like actual perfection. And that whole sequence for me works incredibly well as well. The waitering sequence, that sonic paper could get us anywhere. We could be anyone. We could be guests. It's like, if you want to know things,
work in the kitchen.
Work in the kitchen, that's it. And it's like, according to Lucy, that man over there, who's Lucy?
I love
She's carrying
it.
the salmon pinwheels. Oh, that's Lucy, is it? Yeah. Lucy says that is the president of Great Britain. What? So there's a president, not a prime minister? Seems so. Or maybe Lucy's just
a bit thick. I love Rose's jealousy. I kind of forgot that scene happens. Then it came up and I was like, this is delicious writing. Like, this is it's
so good.
Who's Lucy? I could just imagine being like, who's Martha?
Who's Lucy?
It's so funny. It's so good.
Maybe Lucy's just a bit thick.
Well, this episode, especially talking about the Tylers, like, it really walks a line where it has really funny scenes like that, really, really funny dialogue. And then quite harrowing scenes between Rose and her not parents, where like she sits with Jackie. Pete's kind of trusting her and tells her that his marriage is sort of falling apart. And he's like, I don't really know what I'm telling you all this. I feel like I know you. And she sits with Jackie and she thinks she's going to get the same kind of reaction. And then Jackie is so cold to her. She goes, well, you're just staff. You're nothing but the serving girl, for God's sake. And don't think you're getting paid. Don't you dare talk to me. Like, it's
oh my God.
Really horrific. And Rose just sits there shell-shocked.
You get such a visceral feeling from that as well when Rose oversteps and Jackie reacts and she's like, who are you? You feel like you're in trouble, but I get a feeling in my body of like, oh my God, cringe, too far. Like it's so convincing. It like goes through you. It's like,
I know, it's visceral, right?
It's visceral. It's so good though.
It is.
Brilliant. But it's also that moment of like, wow, that ain't your mum.
That ain't your mum. I ain't your mama. You listen to me.
Also important because we had to kill one of the Jackies off because we couldn't have two.
Exactly, yeah. They couldn't have a universe with two Jackies. We had to get one of them turned to Cybermen. But that again, jumping ahead there a little bit.
We had to get one of them gone.
One thing that I really, really liked in this episode, which we delve more into again in the next one, is the Preachers as a little gang. In this episode, they seem like so put together, because I feel like the Preachers in Rise of the Cybermen versus the Preachers in Age of Steel are like two completely different groups, but they feel so put together. They feel intimidating. I love Jake. Jake is so fit. I just love his voice. He's like, Mrs. Moore, we've got visitors. It's so funny.
I was watching this with my boyfriend, and his first comment when Jake came on screen was like, he's fit. Yeah. I was like, I know. And I said, best bit, I said, he's gay. And I was waiting for the line in this where it was going to be like, oh, Ricky, he wasn't just my best friend, he was my boyfriend.
You convinced yourself.
Like, I'm sure that was in it.
No.
I'm sure that was in it again. And is it a deleted scene?
We've talked about this on the pod before. It's a deleted scene. And I remember at the time you saying, oh, that great scene where he tells me it's his boyfriend. I was like, baby, that's a deleted scene, honey. That was not on camera. I keep waiting for it. Nope, not on camera.
I keep waiting for it.
Oh my God.
But anyway, we love Jake.
There's a really funny line where Ricky meets Mickey. And they're trying to work out what's going on. And Mrs. Moore says, well, it could be that Cybers Industries has perfected the science of human cloning. Or your father had a bike. It's so good.
Again, though, like, they toe that line so well between the humour and the horror. It just swings perfectly between the two of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
That's just what this series just does so well.
This is what makes me forget how harrowing, especially this storyline is that it's so funny.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. But I think that's how, like, all of this era walks that line. A lot of horrible, horrible things happen pretty much every episode, but has just enough humour to pull it back.
I know.
But I'm amazed my parents let me watch this much of it, to be honest. This series had the Clockwork Droids. They did give me nightmares. We had the Cybermen and, you know, people's heads getting scooped out into those.
The faces getting sucked off by Satan. The wire. Actual Satan as well.
Terrifying series. Lots of scary stuff. We had Chloe Webber.
Chloe Webber. I love Chloe Webber.
I love Chloe Webber. What I also thought was funny, the download. So when people stop in the street and they head doo 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 doo, and they all have their AirPods on, chunky style, and they get to the joke part and they just go all at the same time together. My boyfriend just said, this is Twitter. This is all it is.
It literally is.
We all just see the same joke and all laugh at the same time and go
and then carry on with our day. I mean, I think about this. I've been on the tube and I look around, myself included. I mean, you and me are both wearing AirPods when we're doing the podcast. I go on the tube and I look at how many people have AirPods in, specifically Apple AirPods, and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. Like, I remember as a kid thinking it was so absurd that people could be walking around with these wireless AirPod things. And I remember having these little like toys, these little like pebble things, and me and my brother putting them in our ears and like pretending to be zombies. Then my mum shouting, I was like, don't put things in your ears. But now, like, it doesn't take much. I'm like, Apple could take us all over. You don't know.
I did think it was funny. Again, back to Confidential. The inspiration for the earpods was actually the Bluetooth headsets that people used to wear in one ear at the time, because that's where technology was. Yeah. And we were many years away from the earpods, and here we are wearing them all the time. And you do wear them all the time as well.
Yeah.
You go out. And you just, I mean, often, even if you're not listening to anything, you're like, well, I'm out the house, I'll put them in. Like, do you know what I mean? Before you even like think about what you're doing. It's really strange, isn't it?
It really is.
It's like a night, you can't leave the house and forget your AirPods.
No.
But it's quite a Black Mirror-y episode in that sense as well, because it has that undertone of like, ooh, the creep of technology and machines replacing people. But worse than that, you know, people becoming machines. It has that skepticism and uneasiness about technology.
Black Mirror is at its best when you could believe that it could happen. I think that this is probably the most Black Mirror episode, certainly of this series of Doctor Who. But yeah, it's really Black Mirror.
I'm going to just go through a few other points. One is where Ricky wants to go through an army checkpoint. And that's because there's a curfew. I didn't know what a curfew was at the time of watching this. I was like, oh, what? And he's like, where you been living? Up there with the tops. And I guess tops are what they call people who live in the sky.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think that's lovely. They let tops live in their own society.
I always thought he said the toffs, as in like the posh people, the rich people.
Oh.
He might say tops.
Maybe that is what he said.
I don't know. I always thought he said toffs.
I was like, oh, the tops. I guess that's what they call people who are in the sky, is the tops. Oh, you know what? It probably is the tops.
It could be.
Keep this in.
I'll keep it in. I mean, I might be wrong, but I always thought it was toffs.
Probably is the tops.
I don't know.
I was like, oh, right, the tops. And anyway, I thought, what a beautiful society. Let the tops up in the sky.
I love how you're like, classism, what a beautiful society.
No, I just meant like the tops and the bottoms, you know, like the tops.
Do you love your tops and bottoms?
No, that's what I meant. I meant like people who top.
And then the poor people who bottom.
No, there could be, you know, I don't mean it in a class way. I mean it in a penetrative way.
Like sex.
I'm making a gay joke. Yeah, like sex joke. I'm making a sex joke.
Oh, you think being gay is a joke? Okay. Right, okay. So you're classist and homophobic. Right, okay.
A little bit.
I'm winding you up, silly. Yeah, I mean, it may be up there with the tops. He's like, I'm down with the bottoms.
Up there with the tops.
There you go.
A lovely thing. With this series generally, but really noticed it in this episode, and I really hated it. Visually, I thought this episode became so ugly when they have this bloom effect on a lot of it. So it's where like the light spills out in these like some shots, specifically daylight outdoors shots. A lot of the really bright areas of the picture like really spill out, and I don't know if it's like an effect they've applied afterwards, because I think it's a bit of an early mid 2000s media thing as well. A lot of them have this like glowy, bordering on overexposed look going on. So I think it's just like a choice to look like that. I hate it. I really don't like that look. I don't know why it's there. Did you notice that?
It didn't really bother me. I definitely noticed how dated the cameras are, and it definitely feels like a show that was like filmed in the mid-noughties. But like, I don't know. I think I'm a bit forgiving. The big thing that I hate is when they really light the TARDIS green. And they do it in this for effect, so I get it in this episode. But like in Series 2 and certainly in Series 1 as well, they really light the TARDIS green. And I was like, oh, that's a bit yucky. Like, yeah, not my thing.
The other one I had as a low, he just took me out of it, was Mr. Crane the Cockney. He was kind of funny though. It was like, gentlemen, gather round. Hot, fresh beef. Come on in. Warm your cockles.
Wait, I want to see if I can like
van.
remember it from my head. It's like pork, chicken, and hot sweet tea. All for free. And then Jake's like, don't go.
Don't go. Oh,
bless.
Oh my God, Sam, you have like a full photographic memory, but for quotes, it's always impressive.
It's like the inflection. I've just seen this so many times. It's so, yeah.
I love it. I really admire that in you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And then finally, I guess as a discussion point, if the gang had become trapped in the Silent Realm and outside the TARDIS was indeed just a nothingness, do you think they would eat each other? Or do you think they would eventually all throw themselves into the heart of the TARDIS? Because what now?
I think they would have found the food machine from the William Hartnell era which has an everlasting supply of
Yes.
food, and they probably would just live the rest of their lives out until they died. But then the Doctor would be left on board the TARDIS with the corpses of Rose and Mickey and just keep on keeping on, I guess.
You're right, though. They would have found the food machine. That's exactly what they would have found.
They would. They go for a quick swim.
The goofiest part of day one, where they will have to go down to the cellar and find the old food machine.
With all the food from the 60s.
But then the food machine be turned off because the TARDIS is dying.
Oh, yeah, they'd have to put the hands under it and try and grab it off the shelf.
Try and grab the last bits from the...
They're like, I think I can reach a Kit Kat.
And then the Doctor gets crushed and regenerates, and we all learn a lesson about not shoving...
hand where it doesn't belong.
Machines.
Oh, God.
My very, very final observation in this is like, bloody hell, 10 is so cocky in this.
Mm-hmm.
Having now watched 14, it's another one of those that makes you go like, whoa, like 10 was a dick.
Yeah.
10 was a bit of a dick. He is smug.
He's smug. He's also so childish. I know I mentioned it a bit earlier, but specifically him, like, his energy was like, I just gave away 10 years of my life. Worth every second. And we got power. Mickey, we got power. Like, he's such a, like, he's such a child in this. Yeah, but cocky.
Your impressions are getting better every week. I'm frightened for episode 100.
I'm an actor.
Oh.
Well, Alasdair, I love this episode, and I can't wait for next week when we're going to dive into part 2.
Oh, I can't wait either, Sam. I'm so excited. I'm having to hold it back.
But before we do that, would you like to play a little game?
A little game?
A little game?
A little game?
Called Camp.
Yeah.
Or Die! For anyone who is not a frequent listener of Wholala, we like to play a little game called Camp or Damp, where we look back on moments from the episode we've just watched and we say whether they're camp or whether they're damp. Now, Alasdair, picking up signals from Venezuela. Well, I don't know, but now I can find out. Camp or damp?
Oh, it's so camp. It's so camp. Every line they've given Jackie in this, perfectly written, perfectly delivered.
Perfectly written.
I'm just obsessed with it.
It's so good. Well, let me tell you this. A lot of these moments I've chosen have something to do with Mrs. Tyler or her daughter. Rose the dog. She's going to be honking. Camp or damp?
She's going to be honking. Camp. The dog is camp. The dog reeks, I bet, as well. I bet the dog is racking up an unbelievable vet bill from just all manner of strange, rare bone problems as well.
Yeah. It just... God bless them all. God bless Rose when she saw. God bless the dog. God bless Cabby. Rose! Well, speaking of our favourite Tyler, the invisible beef between Rose and Lucy that Lucy is not aware she's in the middle of, camp or damp.
So camp. And I like as well that Lucy's carrying... What's she carrying? The shrimp. The shrimp pinwheels.
Yeah, the shrimp pinwheels. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Poor Lucy.
Poor Lucy. Oh, that's Lucy, is it?
The Doctor's too much a charmer. Oh, that's Lucy, is it? She knows. The thing is, Rose knows that he's a flirt. She's onto him.
Well, would you like a couple of fun facts for this episode, Elsa?
Go on, give me 1 or 2.
I've got 4.
Oh!
And I shall give you them all. So, shortly before filming began, Roger Lloyd Pack, who played John Lumick, broke his ankle in a fall down a flight of stairs. Fortunately, though, however, the Lumick role had already been scripted as being entirely wheelchair-bound, meaning that his injury would not interfere with his performance.
Oh.
There was a big discussion on this because I heard people say that, they wrote him into being in a wheelchair because he broke his ankle. So, like, it was part of this discourse with the whole Davros thing where people were like, oh, no, it wasn't a wheelchair-bound person. It was because he broke his leg. But no, it was always scripted that he was going to be like that.
That was always that way.
And so it was always...
So very convenient.
Very convenient. It worked well for filming, yeah. According to Russell T Davies, the fact that Jackie had her 40th birthday was a deliberate, if obscure, reference to the fact that The Rise of the Cybermen aired in the 40th anniversary year of The 10th Planet, the story that originally aired The Cybermen.
I think that's a very cute link.
Isn't that cute? That's
very
a very
sweet.
Russell thing to do.
Very thoughtful.
Rise of the Cybermen and The Age of Steel were both inspired by Spare Parts, a Big Finish story featuring the Fifth Doctor discovering the origins of the Cybermen. And it was produced by Mark Platt at Big Finish, and Mark Platt even received a with thanks at the end credits.
Oh, that's nice. I like that they do credit writers, creators in Doctor Who. There's a good legacy of doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Even like up until with the specials when they were crediting people for the Star Beast.
Yes, yeah.
And this one, I think you would find this very interesting. And I'm not unbeknownst to the fact a lot of my fun facts get a little from you. But this one is an interesting fun fact. So an additional preacher was originally scripted for this story called Esme, a hard-bitten former Green Beret. This character survived the audition stage, and one of the actresses who read for the part was Freema Agyeman. However, Esme was then dropped when it felt like her presence made the preachers seem too capable, as opposed to a group of well-intentioned amateurs who were out of their depth.
Can you imagine they had triple Freema? Freema.
Parallel Freema.
Parallel Freema.
And Martha.
Companion Freema. And Martha. Yeah.
That would have been one too many Freemas. You know, I take it back. I wanted more Freemas. Bring back more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not like, imagine.
Ew, too many Freemas.
I'm like, no.
Well, thank you so much, dear listener, to revisiting the Rise of the Cybermen with us. You can join us next week on the pod where we'll be looking at part 2 of this story, The Age of Steel.
Yes, we're very excited to see you there. In the meantime, you can support the pod by giving us a rating wherever you listen. You can put the pod on your story. You can share the pod with someone who you think will really enjoy it. And Sam, where can everyone find us on the socials?
Well, we are all over the socials, my friend. We are on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Threads, all of which are at Wholala Pod. And you can also listen to old episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel, also at Wholala Pod. We do fun little videos there. It's a right laugh. It's a right laugh.
It's a right laugh. It's a terrible laugh. It's it's all awful fun. And if you're feeling very generous, you can also donate to our KO-FI coffee. We're very grateful to Miles, who's recently donated to us on coffee. We're very grateful for that. Thank you, Miles. And until then, I think that's pretty much everything. Except part 2 of this Cybermen story, which we will be looking at very, very soon. Very, very soon. Very, very soon indeed.
Very soon. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, my loves.
Bye.